Hello everyone, my name is Jeff. I'm going to talk to you about building your very own ADSB receiver station to feed sites like FlightAware and Flightradar24. I'm going to talk to you about why that's something you might want to consider doing, the hardware necessary to do it, as well as the programming to make your site live. First, let's start with what ADSB is. ADSB stands for Automatic Dependent Surveillance Broadcast. It is a signal that is sent out by an aircraft once per second, which includes GPS location, the altitude of the aircraft, their ground speed, along with a ton of other data to other aircraft around them that are equipped with the right equipment, as well as ground stations across the US. This data can then be used by air traffic control to more efficiently and safely control planes in the sky. Let's talk about why you might want to consider making your own feeder station to feed these websites. Let's start with FlightAware. FlightAware offers a free enterprise account for people who are feeding this data to their website. Normally that would cost you $99.95 per month, almost $1,200 per year, but you'd be getting it for free as long as you're feeding them data. This gives you things like going from 5 tracking alerts and saved aircraft to unlimited. It takes you from 3 to 50 airports. It adds things like fleet tracking. It gives you 8 months of past flight activity. It gives you aircraft statistics. And probably most importantly, it gives you an ad-free tracking map. Now let's take a look at what Flightradar24 offers to feed them. They give you a free business class subscription. This is the best of 4 tiers. It's currently on sale for $499 a year. Again, most importantly probably is the fact that you get this with no ads. They give you 3 full years of flight tracking history. There's also no timeout, meaning that originally, if you were on a non-subscription account, you would have a timeout on your browser after a certain amount of time, and you'd have to refresh your browser to continue watching planes. The weather layers within Flightradar24 are also extremely helpful to look at. You can see cloud, high-level weather, lightning, as well as winds based on altitude. In my opinion, Flightradar24 has better eye candy. However, they don't give you local access to the data. You can only view the data that you are feeding by going to Flightradar24.com. Whereas, if you build a PiAware feeder, which is a product provided by FlightAware, you get something automatically installed called SkyAware. SkyAware lets you log directly into the Pi and view the planes without relying on the internet. You will need the internet for your maps, but beyond that, you are seeing real live plane data as it is being received by your Pi. This also gives something called Dump 1090, which will allow us to share that data to other applications or feed other sites. So for example, we are going to install PiAware feeder, and then we are also going to set up feeding Flightradar24 from the same device without having to buy additional hardware. Let's go ahead and jump into the hardware necessary to pull this off, and then we'll get started. Okay, now we're going to take a look at the hardware that I will be using for this build. I'm going to leave as many links down in the description below to all of this stuff. Please note that some of them are affiliate links, and I will get a small percentage of the purchase that you make. However, it costs you nothing extra. It really helps me out. If you use those links, it costs you nothing extra, and it helps me out and the channel out, so I'd appreciate you using them. The first thing I'm going to show you here is the computer that I'm going to build this on. It's going to be the RaspberryPi 3B. Now, I elected to go with a RaspberryPi 3 over a 4 or 5 because the RaspberryPi 3 is much cheaper than a 4 or a 5. And this build takes next to no processing power, but probably the most important part is the RaspberryPi 3 puts out far less heat than a 4 and a 5. I plan on mounting this Raspberry Pi up at the antenna on the roof in a weatherproof box. So please make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're interested in seeing that build in the near future when that video comes out. With that being said, I will be powering my Pi with the RaspberryPi PoE HAT. This will allow me to run one cable up and get both power and network back down in one cable and power the Pi that way. So RaspberryPi PoE adapter. Again, not necessary. You could go with just a plug into the wall, run-of-the-mill adapter, even a cell phone style plug-in wall, if it's the right amount of power output on it, will power a Pi for you if necessary, especially a 3. The next thing is a SD card, micro SD card. I elected to go with these SanDisk outdoor. These are built for high tolerance of temperature, hot and cold. And because I'm going to mount this computer outside in a weatherproof case, it is going to get hot in the summer and it's going to get cold in the winter. So I decided to give myself as much of an edge as possible, and I found these guys online for extremely affordable price, and so this is what I'm going with there. The next thing we want to look at is what kind of stick we're going to use, the RF stick. This is what receives the RF and converts it into a USB signal to go into the Pi, or USB interface, I should say, into the Pi. This is your RF dongle. This one specifically, the blue one from FlightAware, has the 1090 megahertz filter built into it. That's the reason I decided to go this route. Great little dongle. A lot of people use these and are very happy with them. The next thing is your antenna. I am going outdoors, so I went with, of course, the FlightAware ADSB outdoor 1090 megahertz antenna. It's got an end connector on the bottom. It's outdoor rated. I have a friend who has one and he recommended it, so I was like, why not? The price on these is actually amazing. You know, I think they're selling these at I've seen them at other places for much more than what FlightAware is selling them for from other manufacturers. I think FlightAware is trying to encourage as many people as possible to put their antennas outside. You will get much better signal coverage putting an antenna outside. It'll give you more airplanes to view from your own station, and it also helps FlightAware out when you do something like that, letting them have a better coverage, obviously. Lastly here, we have a coax cable. Because I went with the end connector, I've got the SMA on one end to go from the dongle, and on the other end I have an end connector to go out of the antenna. I went with a very short piece of coax to keep it as short as possible and eliminate as much line loss as possible. An optional thing to consider is just a USB extension cable. Because that dongle will be sticking out of the Raspberry Pi, I elected to go with an extension cable to let me extend that out and not put as much strain on the connector there. So I'm gonna go this route. All right, now let's get into the programming side of things and get this thing online. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started collecting all the pieces we need to put this together from a software standpoint. We're going to open up a browser and head over to FlightAware.com, where we will grab the image we're looking to download here. We're going to do that by going to the ADSB tab and go down to Build a PiAware ADSB Receiver. Now, this guide in here is incredibly thorough, gives a lot of information of how to do this. There's even a section here, we can look here, I just want to point this out. They have a pre-packaged kit ready to go with a Raspberry Pi Zero. It comes with the Pro Stick Plus, and it also comes with the antenna, an indoor antenna. This is not to be used outdoors, but if you're putting this in or near a window, this is a great solution. It's quite small, compact. It has the adapter for you to go from the micro SD that the Raspberry Pi Zero has on it over to a full-size USB that the stick plugs in. It comes with an SD card, and it comes with an SD card reader for you to get programmed on your computer. Even comes with a little tiny case for the Raspberry Pi Zero. So this is a great solution for anyone who just wants to put something together simple, pre-packaged. Here it all is for you. Buy all the parts right here from FlightAware. Let's head back over to that page we were on previously. We're going to scroll down here to installing PiAware, which is what we're in the process of doing right now. They have two sides here, Windows and Mac OS X. Now you can follow through with these instructions. However, this will not tell you how to get your feeder also feeding Flightradar24. So make sure you do stick around to see how we do that. That is not included in their tutorial on their website. Both of these images here, Mac and Windows, are exactly the same image. They go to the same place. We're going to go ahead and start downloading this. While it's downloading, we're going to need a program that we can use to essentially burn this image or install this image onto our micro SD card. So with that in mind, they recommend using Etcher here. That's not what I use. I use the Raspberry Pi OS, Raspberry Pi Imager. Um, it does all the same stuff. It really doesn't matter which one you use. If you feel more comfortable in Etcher, use Etcher by all means. I don't have Etcher. I find that I can just use custom images through the Raspberry Pi Imager, and it works just the same, so that's what I stick with. I already have this installed on my computer, but I will leave a link down in the description to this page for you to find this. The link for Etcher is right here. You can go to Etcher and download Etcher if that's the route you want to take. So we can move out of our browser now, and I'm going to go ahead and open up the Imager, and I'm also going to plug in my media. So I'm going to plug in my micro SD card, and that's going to load right up here on the desktop in just a moment. And this right here is our PiAware image. I will double click that to unzip that image. We are going to need that unzipped in order to install the parts we need. So that will take just a moment here. And once that's unzipped, we can pop inside this folder and just take a look at what's in here. We have the setup guide in here. We have an info SD card.info file, and we have our actual image. This is what we want to use to install onto our micro SD card. So I'm going to walk you through how that works using Raspberry Pi Imager. You don't need to worry about choosing a device for this particular case because we're going to go to Choose OS. We're going to scroll all the way to the bottom, and we are going to use a custom IMG, okay? This is going to open up. I'm going to navigate to the desktop, which is where this image is located. Here's the zip, and here is the unzipped folder. I'm going to go inside here, and as you can see, the only thing we can select is the image. I'm going to click Open, and then I'm going to choose the storage to write this to. I've already inserted my micro SD card. Please note, whatever you write to, it will completely erase everything that is on that card. So please do not do not write onto something that has other files that you may want to hold on to. It will erase them. So I'm going to select my card, and then I'm going to click Next. Now here, we do not want to apply any of the OS customization settings. We are going to click No here. And this is just warning us that everything will be erased. Do you want to continue? I'm going to click yes. This is going to take a while, so we will fast forward through this process, and I will see you at the other side of it. Okay, now that that process is done, you may have noticed over here that we had a drive on there and it went away. That's our actual media, and it says here that it's safe to remove the SD card. We are going to remove that card, but we're going to plug it right back in because there's a few housekeeping things we need to do before we put this into the Raspberry Pi. The first thing we need to do is edit one of the PiAware config files, and that's just a text file. So we're just going to open up this boot image. We are going to scroll down to the PiAware config.txt right here. This should just open up in your generic text editor. What you want to look for in here is if you are using wireless, this is incredibly important. This is where you set up to connect the Pi to your wireless network, and you do that right here. Wireless SSID, you're going to want to replace this part right here with your wireless SSID, whatever that may be, and then you're going to want to put your password in here. Please make sure to pay attention to capitalization. It does matter. This is case sensitive on both lines. Whatever your SSID is, whatever your password is, you want to put those in there. Now, wireless network is set to yes. I am not using wireless, so I'm going to simply change that to no. And then wired network is defaulted to yes here, and that's fine. There's a couple other things down here that you can come in to adjust if you're using one of the other RTL SDR dongles. There may be some things in here that you need to configure. Everything else, pretty much just leave it as is. We're going to just save this file. It will save a second version of the file, a backup. You'll see it there. It came right there. Just close out of it once you've saved it. That's all you need to do there. Now, the second thing we need to do is set our Pi up for SSH access. And this is how we're going to do that on a Mac. We are going to open up Terminal, okay? we are going to go cd / to take us back to where we want to be to see all of our drives. Then we're going to cd into volumes / boot. And we can do an ls here, and we can see that we are in fact looking at all the files that are on this drive, just in a terminal, from a terminal point of view. All these files right here are right here. The config file, the PiAware config file is in here. Let's see. It is in here somewhere. There it is right there, PiAware config. Here's the backup file it created. But what we need to do is create an SSH file, because that is what tells the Raspberry Pi that we can access this device over the network via SSH. So to do that on a Mac, we're going to type in touch, and we're just going to put SSH. And that will put the file onto, right here, you can see it just did it, onto the root of our drive called boot. We can do an ls again over here to list, and you can see there's the SSH file, whereas up here, it was not there. Okay, so this is now ready to be ejected and put into your Raspberry Pi. I will also flip over and show you how to create that file on a Mac. So let's do that real quick now. Once that part is done, we're ejecting our drive safely from the computer on both Windows and Mac, and then we will be going to put it into our Raspberry Pi. Okay, so I'm now going to show you how to create this SSH file inside of your boot drive inside of Windows. So here we have our boot drive. You can see in here right now there is no file called SSH. From command prompt, you're going to open up command prompt, and you're going to change drive letters by typing in, we can see here that boot on my machine is currently F. I'm going to type in F : to change to that drive, okay? And the next thing I'm going to do is just simply type in cd space period space the greater than symbol space SSH and enter. And if we come down here now, we can scroll down and see we now have SSH created. So that's all done. I will include this command in the description, and we can now safely eject this drive from Windows and go ahead and pop it into the Pi. Let's go ahead and do that now, safely eject, and go from there. Okay, so this next step involves plugging your SD card in. Oh, I have my dog Charlie here to help me out. She's going to help us out with this section of the video. The next part involves plugging your SD card into the Pi, plugging in all the peripherals, including your receiver and your antenna. I have my antenna in the window here just for testing purposes while we get this set up and running. And then I'm powering my Pi via the PoE HAT, so I've got that plugged into a PoE port on a switch. So now let's head down and look into logging into the Pi. Okay, now that we have got our Pi plugged in, turned on, we need to find the IP address of that Pi on the network. The easiest way to do that is, in my opinion, an app called Fing. It's available on iPhone and Android. It is free. I will leave a link to both of those in the description below. I'm going to go ahead and open this app up. Now, I've run a scan before, so mine, it just says see devices. Yours may say something like scan network now the first time you do it. I'm going to open this up. I'll hit refresh for fun, but you can see here we have, right there, you can see PiAware, the second option down, 10.1.20.70. So that is the address of the device that we want to go to for our PiAware instance. So let's go ahead and pop back over to the desktop. And we're going to go to 10.1.20.70 in a browser. So let's open up our browser, 10.1.20.70. And there we go. Okay. So this is our FlightAware landing page. And as you can see, everything is green on it. We are working. We are collecting flight data. And we are, in fact, sending it to FlightAware as an anonymous feeder right now. You can see this feeder is not associated with FlightAware account yet. So let's click on go to Skyware map. That's going to load up. Now that's going to load us in some random location, it would appear. Okay, so we're just going to go find ourselves here. And I'm in the Chicago area. And as you can see, we are receiving aircraft. It is quite late at night here at the moment, so that is why there are very few planes in the air. We're also just coming online here, so things may still be populating a little bit. But it is late at night here, so that's why there's a little bit of a lack of aircraft. So let's go ahead and claim this feeder. We're going to click Claim This Feeder on FlightAware. Now, I am currently not logged into FlightAware, but let's go ahead and claim this feeder. This will take us to the FlightAware website, and I'm going to need to log in. So I'm going to go ahead and log in with my username and password. And there we are. Verify you are human. And just like that, this feeder will be recognized by FlightAware as my feeder. There you have it. So I am now getting credit for all of the data that this PiAware receives. Okay. As you can see, we are actively now feeding FlightAware. We can scroll down and see all of our statistics here, which is really great. You can see where you land in terms of other users, other nearby sites, and it is currently still estimating the location. Once it gets done estimating, we're going to be able to click a button that's going to let us input our own latitude and longitude. So we will do that once that happens, and then we will have MLAT enabled. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is get ourselves set up to feed Flightradar. Since we know that we're working with FlightAware, let's get Flightradar24 being fed. So we're going to take a look at this document here. This is how we want to feed Flightradar24 from this device. This is a link that is found from Flightradar. They make it incredibly easy to do. And I'm going to go ahead and flip over to Terminal. We are going to use this link right here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this. We will need this a little bit later. I'm going to copy that right now. And we're going to switch over to a terminal window. Let's go to Terminal. Okay. So from Terminal, we want to access our PiAware via SSH. So we're going to type in SSH Pi at, and then you are going to put in your IP address. Mine was 10.1.20.70. And I'm going to hit enter. It's going to ask if I want to continue with this, putting this fingerprint in. I'm going to say yes. And then it's going to ask for a password. The password is FlightAware, all one word, all lowercase. Now, you want to change this password because we have enabled SSH. If you did not enable SSH, you can't log in via SSH, so there's no need to worry about going to change the password. And I believe it is PASSWD, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, there it is. So PASSWD, and then it's going to ask for the current password, which is FlightAware. We're going to hit enter, and then it's going to ask for the new password. And I'm just going to make this one, for this example, password. And we'll do it again, password. Okay. The next thing we need to do is go ahead and run that command that I had shown you. I'm going to paste it right in there. There it is, and I'm going to hit enter. This will take just a little bit to install, and then we'll be onto the configuration stage. Okay, once that process is done, you're going to enter your email address. You want to make sure that this is the email address that you have for your Flightradar24 account. So please make sure you have already created a Flightradar24 account for this process. I'm going to hide my email, but I will put it in. And we'll go to the next step. Okay, this is your sharing key. Now, I just want to make a quick note and show you this. If you go to Flightradar24's page and if you are currently sharing data to Flightradar24, you can get your sharing key from right here. Mine will be blocked out. You don't want anyone to see this sharing key. But if you don't have a sharing key, you can just hit enter and go past this step. If you do have a sharing key, you're going to get the sharing key from here, and you're going to put it into terminal at this time, at this spot, and that's just going to renew your, oops, that is not what I want to put in there. That is just going to renew your previous feeder, so you get all the credit. You don't have to start over with any of your statistics. So I'm just going to grab my sharing key and put that in there. Now, participate in MLAT calculations. This is very important. Because of how you are taking the data from PiAware, it's coming into the Flightradar24 and being shared via something called dump 1090. The MLAT data is not reliable, and it will actually mess up when it's feeding Flightradar24. It will actually be feeding misinformation to Flightradar24 because the time of that information is so critical. So very important, it is okay to feed MLAT to PiAware, but you cannot feed MLAT to Flightradar24 when you are feeding both from the same Pi. Even both from, when you are feeding Flightradar24 by using dump 1090, which is what we are using, you cannot feed Flightradar24 the MLAT information. So we are going to hit no for this part. And autoconfig is yes. There's the dump 1090 instance. They're going to automatically configure it for us, and we are set up as defaults for everything. Okay, we are going to run this command that you see above, sudo system control enable Flightradar24 feed. And then we are going to do a sudo system control restart Flightradar24 feed. And that's about it. Now, let's see here. Now, when we pop back over to Flightradar shortly here, I should be back online and feeding as soon as that gets back up. While we're waiting for that to happen, let's head back over to our PiAware. Let's bring you back over here. So we want to look into getting this to turn green right now. So we're going to go back to our statistics online here, and then we're going to click on this cogwheel right here. And that is going to take us to allowing to see username. You have a couple settings that you can pick here. You can name your site. And then we can manually enter our location. So this right here, we want to manually enter location. And we're going to do that right down here, edit location. Now, you can choose your location via dragging this guy. And I'm just going to drag mine to my approximate location. This is just estimating where I am based on other receivers in the area. So just grab your pin and drop it wherever your location is. Okay, I'm in the Chicago area, so I'm going to take this and put it roughly in a rough spot near where I am and hit submit. The other option you have for edit location is to go here and let me see here. I believe the tightest we can get in. Well, yeah, this is a pretty detailed view here. You can get in tight enough that you can kind of land that in your exact location. But you also have the option to go to latlong.net. I will go ahead and take you there. Latlong.net. You can type in a very specific location and get a very precise. You can get much more detailed in the view of the map here. So for example, let me just type in Chicago, Illinois, and then we can zoom in extremely close. The map has a much better detail to it, and you can really drag and get some precision to your location. So that's another option for moving yourself around. Let's see, I want to do that. Yeah, you're going to want to double click or just do a single click where you want it to go. That'll get you a little bit better coordinates. You'll just enter the lat long there into if you know your exact location, you're going to enter the lat long right there, and that'll do it. And then once we've done that and we save, we can come back to our main page. So let's hit the back button here, and shortly our MLAT should turn green. Here it comes. We're reloading here because we just put in our location. Shortly here, MLAT is going to be turning green. Okay, so that about covers it. Let's head back over to our FlightAware and refresh that. Excuse me, Flightradar, and you can see now my second receiver is in fact online. So both of them are now feeding the respective places they're supposed to be feeding. I just want to say thank you for joining me for this video. Please like if you enjoyed it. It really helps me out. Also consider subscribing. I will have another video coming of how I'm mounting this thing outside outside of my house, inside of a weatherproof box, or weather resistant box, I should say. And with the Pi outside and running the cables up, and we'll look at a difference. It's going to be a drastic difference in the receive capability this thing has of where it's currently in a window versus when it actually goes outside. So thanks for joining me, and I will see you in the next one.